A cultural examination of the Targaryen perception of imperialism. Here's an expanded version of the paragraph. Host speaks. We live in an age of memes, nostalgia for defunct pop cultures that forever recapture relevance on the internet. However, one franchise stays far above this sea of relatable fads. Game of Its enduring popularity can be attributed to its masterful blend of complex characters, intricate world building, and epic storytelling. But what's fascinating is how this fantasy epic has become a cultural touchstone, allowing audiences to engage with and reflect on the very real issues of power, identity, and imperialism that it portrays. From the conquests of the Targaryen dynasty to the subsequent rise and fall of the Seven Kingdoms, Game of Thrones offers a rich tapestry of themes and motifs that invite viewers to consider the complexities of imperial ambition and its consequences. For instance, the Targaryens' dragonfire and blood approach to expansion and domination serves as a powerful allegory for the brutal realities of colonialism and imperialism. The show's creators, David Benioff and D.B. Weiss, have explicitly stated that they drew inspiration from historical examples of imperial conquest, such as the Roman Empire and the Mongol horde. This is evident in the way the Targaryens, like these historical empires, use military might and strategic alliances to expand their dominion over Westeros. The show also explores the human costs of imperialism as the native cultures of the conquered lands face displacement, exploitation, and cultural erasure. Moreover, Game of Thrones' exploration of imperialism is often nuanced and multifaceted, reflecting the complexities of real-world historical examples. Take, for example, the depiction of the Dothraki and the Unsullied, two groups who have been at the receiving end of Targaryen conquests. While these characters may initially appear as one-dimensional caricatures, they are given depth and agency as the show progresses. Their cultures, traditions, and individual experiences are slowly revealed, humanizing them and raising important questions about power, identity, and cultural appropriation. By examining the Targaryens' imperialistic policies through the lens of these characters, Game of Thrones challenges viewers to think critically about the consequences of imperialism and the nature of power itself. However, the seeds of this criticism were sown in the way Targaryen actions and policies were consistently depicted in the series. From the moment Daenerys and her dragon, Drogon, descended upon Meereen, civilians were seen fleeing in terror, and Targaryen loyalists were shown standing on the front lines. This media framing often reduced the complexities of Targaryen motivations to a simplistic, one-dimensional narrative. In this context, the critique of Targaryen imperialism referencing the historical context of colonial powers exploiting and dominating indigenous populations began to take shape. In A Song of Ice and Fire, George R. Martin hints at the Targaryen history of conquering and expanding their realm through brutal, unrelenting force. In the book, Daenerys' backstory is woven with that of her ancestors, particularly Maegor the Cruel and Aegon the Conqueror, known for their extensive campaigns of violence and expansion. Moreover, it is Mr. Amon's recollection in the show that highlights their liberation of lands, essentially portraying the Targaryens as liberators or heroes rather than conquerors. The diverging perspectives and biases inherent in these narratives contribute to a confusing and multifaceted representation of the Targaryen legacy. But does this perception ultimately reflect the actual messages being conveyed by the creators, or was it instead a commentary by the audience interpreting the content? Critics pointed out that Daenerys, especially during her rule of Meereen and Essos, often imposed her will through violence and suppression of dissent. This point can be illustrated with how she brutally eliminated rebels from the Meereen Revolution and supported brutal regimens like the Dothraki and Unsullied. Many of them saw these decisions as a manifestation of the Targaryen imperialist ethos, however. Some saw her as taking control of an unstable area to save the inhabitants.